Hey there. This video is for people that can see patterns, not just headlines, patterns. The release of the Jeffrey Epstein documents was not an accident, and it damn sure wasn't to save us. It was done to see us, to see what we normalize, what we excuse, what we demand, what we ignore. And that answer simply determines whether darkness retreats or simply changes costumes again. This information came out years later for a reason. Plus, if it was released sooner, before Trump was voted into office, it would have affected his presidency. This information doesn't just expose wrongdoings, it moves public trust. And public trust is the currency of governance. So systems delay, not to protect morality, but to protect cruelty. They also released a lot of files now because timing controls perception. If these documents have dropped during the height of Epstein's arrest, during active investigations, and when public unity was sharper, the reaction wouldn't have been controllable. Right after Epstein arrest, the public was focused, emotionally activated, asking direct questions and demanding answers. People weren't scrolling past. They were watching hearings. They were following investigations. They were connecting the dots. Outrage still had direction. They didn't want to release the information too soon. They wanted to wait till people were tired, divided, and overwhelmed. Come on, have y'all seen what's been going on since Trump became president? Look at everything that happened since then. Crisis after crisis. Division stacked on division. Exhaustion normalized. That's not accidental. I'm telling you, that's strategy, not conspiracy. Power doesn't just decide what truths come out. It decides when truth is servable. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just a criminal. He was a node. Do you know what a node is? In simple terms, a node is a simple point of connection. So technically, a traffic intersection is a node since multiple roads connect at that point. Jeffrey Epstein was a middleman between money, power, secrecy, and exploitation. The reason why his case shook the world isn't because people are shocked that evil exists. It's because people realize how close evil sits to power. These are people with private jets, private islands, private parties, private agreements. When evil lives this close to authority, it doesn't just harm victims. It reprograms reality. When people are repeatedly exposed to evil near power and nothing happens, something shifts in the collective mind. At first, it's a shock, then disbelief, then anger, and eventually normalization. That's how darkness survives. Not by announcing itself, but by slowly convincing people that's just how the world works. They want us to feel like this is what power looks like. This is the cost of success. And generation after generation, darkness tries to make its existence ordinary. Not because humans agree with it, but because humans get tired. Even an atheist can feel this. You don't have to believe in God to know that exploiting children, abusing innocence, and protecting predators is fundamentally wrong. You feel it in your body. This is moral law written into human awareness, whether people call it God, conscious, or humanity. So when people see systems and it's repeated enough times, they face a unbearable tension. Either resist it forever or learn to live with it. This tension is called cognitive dissonance. And what does cognitive dissonance mean? It is the mental discomfort when two things people believe don't match. And when it becomes too painful, many people choose normalization. Not because they agree, but because resistance feels hopeless. Now, here's a question that's being asked that I keep seeing coming across my timelines. If God is real, why doesn't God just come down and force us to love one another or make us love one another? And that's because forced love is not love, it's control. If God removed choice, humanity wouldn't be conscious. We would be obedient. God doesn't want submission, God wants alignment. And alignment requires choice. God does not want to rule through domination. That's the system humans created. God rules through invitation. That's why love always requires willingness. This is exactly why the people who left Egypt with Moses did not enter the promised land. They saw miracles, they saw plagues, they saw the sea split, they saw manna fall from the sky, but they still carried that slave mindset. Their bodies left Egypt, but Egypt never left their thinking. They were conditioned to obey, fear, and depend, not build, govern, and trust. You cannot enter a promised land while still thinking like a property. You cannot inherit freedom while mentally addicted to captivity. So God didn't punish them, God waited. He allowed a new generation to rise, a generation that was not molded by chains. That generation didn't fear giants because they were not raised to believe that power only belongs to masters. They knew they belonged to God. And here's where it connects back. When evil sits near power and it goes unchallenged, it doesn't just harm victims. It trains populations to just accept abuse as reality. It conditions people to believe that truth is optional and justice is selective. That's Egypt energy. That's slavery of the mind. And God will not force humanity out of it. Humanity has to want freedom. That's the test. Epstein wasn't just a criminal, he was a mirror. A mirror showing how systems protect themselves. And once you see that, you're faced with the same choice every generation faces. Normalize it or refuse to inherit it. Because the promised land is a just world, a healed world, a loving world. And it cannot be built by people who believe abuse is inevitable. It can only be built by people who refuse to bring the slave mindset forward. But before I go, since the documents came out now and people scroll past, argue endlessly, get tired, normalize it, or say, what can we do? The system learns something. It learns they can handle more truth without demanding change. And that determines the next release. All I can do is plant seeds in your heart because 5 scrolls later, you will not remember this video. So thank you for watching and be safe out there.